Hey, boys and girls. This is our next lesson on folktales. We talked about folktales before, and we know that folktales are short stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. They've been told orally and then eventually were written down. There's different types of folktales. We already talked about a fable. There's fairy tales, legends, myths, and tall tales. Here's a review of a fable. Fables are short folk tales that involve personified animals or animals that act like people and can talk and usually wear clothes. And they teach a lesson or a moral. Examples of fables would be Aesop's fables, The Tortoise and the Hare, which we read before, and The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Now we're going to look at fairy tales. Fairy tales are folk tales that take place in a magical land. Remember, we said it was going to be timeless and placeless. There's really no actual place where it's set. They're ruled, usually, the land is ruled by royalty, and the characters are either good or evil. Some examples of this are Cinderella, Snow White, and Beauty and the Beast. So let's take a look at Cinderella, and we're going to see if it has all the things that a fairy tale would need. Does it have royalty? What do you think? Yep, Prince Charming, he's in there. Let's see, what else does a fairy tale have to have? Well, it's going to have some kind of battle between good and evil. Think about Cinderella. Does it have a battle between good and evil? You're right. It's Cinderella versus her wicked stepmother and stepsisters. What else does a fairy tale need to have? Well, it's going to have some magic in it. Is there some magic in Cinderella? What do you think? Yep, that fairy godmother comes and saves the day. Cinderella is able to make it to the ball because she gets the carriage that's made out of a pumpkin and she gets the dress. But of course, when the clock strikes midnight, all of that stuff goes back to the way it was before. Now, what's the last thing? Does it have a happily ever after type ending? What happens at the end of Cinderella? The wicked stepmother wins? No, that would be ridiculous. Cinderella married the prince, so of course they live happily ever after. All right, now I want you to think of your own fairy tale, one that maybe you've read or heard or even seen. Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Rapunzel. So you think of a fairy tale, and then I want you to write down the royalty component of it, what the good versus evil element is. Was there magic in it? What kind of magic was going on in there? And how did you see the happily ever after in the story? So I want you to think about some books you've read, maybe some movies you've watched, just stories you've heard, and I want you to write down the name of the fairy tale, and then you're going to write down all of these categories and put where you saw that in the video, just like we did for Cinderella.